All right, welcome to Cultural Entropy. So last night I finished The Witcher 1, I think it is, Blood of Elves. There's a little bit of conflicting stories about how to read the series as a whole. I did read Last Wish before I got to this. I thought that was the first one of the series. That's kind of an anthology of short stories. I guess you're supposed to read the second anthology of short stories, Sword of Destiny. I didn't read that one. I have that on the way. But this is supposed to be the first one in the actual proper Witcher series to read. I liked Last Wish enough that I went out and I got Blood of Elves like immediately so I could read it. I was really disappointed in this one. It's not that it's necessarily bad. Well, the best way I could think to describe it, if Last Wish is kind of a prologue, then this is kind of a addendum to that prologue. It's just more build up to getting into the story proper. Full disclosure, I am a video game fan. I did play Witcher 2 when it came out back in the day. Um, so I am kind of aware of who some of these characters are and where they're supposed to go. I am, you know, uh, a little bit fluid in the backstory of what is going on. So like I didn't need so much of the stuff to be set up for me that maybe like a new reader would. Um and I almost think that like reading Blood of Elves probably would go well paired with Last Wish or Sword of Destiny, bouncing back and forth because of how exposition heavy Blood of Elves is. And that exposition is not necessarily well, it goes hand in hand with Sapowski's writing style, and it takes a little getting used to because he ends up using character dialogue in lieu of like action like prose, and it can be like really disoriented as characters are like literally saying what someone else is doing at certain points. Like he doesn't parse out the what characters are actions or thinking all the time. Like the exposition scenes will go on for pages with just like people bouncing back and forth talking to each other, and I don't know who these characters are or how they exactly fit into the story other than just like having played the video games a little bit. So that can be really tough, but by the end, this is why I like reading, I like to see how other people get you there, and Sapowski gets there differently than other people. By the end, I did really kind of starting to buy into his style. It's different. And it's not that it's necessarily bad. But it can have problems where it's not really as engaging as other people. And like I'll bring up before, like guys like Hemingway are the guys that I like, or a Elmore Leonard or something like that. So in this case, like it does take a little bit of getting used to. It is in Last Wish the same way, but Last Wish doesn't have this like these massive exposition dump conversations that Blood of Elves did. So I could definitely see how this would be difficult, and I'm kind of curious how much between Last Wish and Sword of Destiny, how much this is actually necessary to get into the story. The other thing that is interesting about this is the character of the Witcher, Geralt. Um, Kind of not the main character in this novel. Yennefer is a a bigger character. Ciri's a bigger character in this story. So like, and then you have other characters like Triss and Dandelion that have their sections because they have to be built up a little bit so the audience is almost aware of them. And then there's other points where like trying to uh get through what he is trying to set up because there is a very non-linear type of story that's being told in this. Again, some of it I like mechanically, and there's other parts that it did take a little bit of getting used to. Last Wish did help that a little bit. I wouldn't write this way, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It does kind of change my enthusiasm for Sword of Destiny and Time of Content. Like they're not going to be like number one in the queue when they get here. I have already bought them. They are on the way, but you know, like, it did make me less enthusiastic, even though I did go and look at some of the other reviews, and I guess this is kind of how a lot of people viewed this book, and they do get better from here. But just my general thoughts on Witcher number one, Blood of Elves.